Okay. Well, everyone. Hi, Meg. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Veterans in Technology, Cybersecurity, and STEM Workforce panel discussion we're having today. I am your moderator. I'm Rochelle. Please refer to me as Shelley. I am the business owner for Wait SLTS, specializing in cybersecurity solutions. Today we have on our panel Jeff, that is with Black Kite, Garrett, that is with Teradyne, Lance, please forgive me, Stephen Lance
It's all
with,
good.
with Spectrum, and Sean Stevenson, who will be joining us. He is with the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. So let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome
Good
to today's
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome to today's discussion on veterans in technology, cybersecurity, and STEM in the workforce. I'm honored to moderate this incredible panel of leaders representing innovation, strategy, and veteran advocacy across multiple industries. Today, we'll explain and explore how veterans are contributing to critical technology sectors, what challenges remains, how organizations can continue to build meaningful pathways from service to STEM careers, and challenges that remain in the workforce pipeline. So today we have Sean Stevenson. He may be a little delayed, but I really want to acknowledge Sean and his story. Sean is doing many major amazing things, innovative solutions and services at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. Lawrence, Sean is the Strategic Military and Veteran Program Manager. And for our first question, we're going to jump right into transitioning from service to a career in the STEM sector. However, we're going to begin this section with our panel. And what I will do is I will announce the question. I will read the question. After reading the question, we can start with Jeff first, then Garrett, and Steve last, finally. And if everyone would be able to introduce themselves, their role, and their company. That's the format we're going to follow. Righty. So this is the question, the very first question for our panel. Many veterans bring leadership, adaptability, and problem-solving skills to the table. How can employers translate those strengths into measurable success with the tech and STEM workforce? Jeff, we'll start with you. Thank you.
Yeah, so thanks, Shelley, and thanks to my esteemed colleagues and panelists. So a little bit about me, just real quick, because it's not about me, it's about all you guys. I have been in cyber for about 30 plus years. I currently serve in an evangelist strategy role with Black Kite. We work in the third-party and supply chain cyber risk management space. Prior to that, I spent 15 years as a Gartner analyst. So I've never had the honor to serve in the armed forces like my colleagues and all of you out there. But I have had the opportunity to support a lot of that effort through my current role. We have a lot of federal government clients and clients in the DIB. And through Gartner, we served a lot of folks in the military space. So it's an honor to be here. So really, to answer the question, Shelley, when I was a hiring manager, I love to bring in former military because they bring to the table just an immense understanding around project management and around how to really accomplish goals and show resilience and sort of that relentlessness that I think is really, really important. I tell people all the time, we're at war in the cyberspace and we're losing. And a lot of that is because we don't bring that sort of the proper mentality and the proper approach. So, I'm a big fan of project management. I actually learned a lot about the concept of OODA from my chief security officer. And I think that veterans bring just a really a formalized but flexible way about solving problems. And we need more of that in the cybersecurity space. There's too many people who, all right, here's a checklist. And it's like, all right, let's throw the checklist out. Let's solve these problems. Let's defend ourselves. Let's be safer. And I feel like veterans really, really bring that mentality to this cyber battlefield right now. And I don't think there's enough of that.
Jeff, great. It's totally agreed with you. Veterans, they bring that relentlessness. They bring that resilience, and bringing those qualities, those contributions that you've learned from the military, that you've inherited from the military. I'd love to hear what both Garrett and Stephen have to say. So I'm going to pass it over to Garrett.
Yeah, thanks, Rochelle. So I'm Garrett Bosch. I've been with Teradyne for 15 years. Prior to that, I served in the United States Navy from 2000 to 2008. Went to Northeastern here in Boston University for my MBA, and I've been with Teradyne practically ever since. What I do at Teradyne now is I'm a supply-based manager. And what Teradyne does is we are a automated test equipment developer, manufacturer, and we sell automated test equipment to the semiconductor industry, as well as the broader electronic industries, to test semiconductor chips, as well as broader electronics that semiconductor chips go on, as well as we have a robotics business for advanced industrial automation as well, to automate factories across the planet. So how I go about answering the question, how can employers translate their strengths that they see in military candidates into measurable success within the tech or STEM workforce, is my advice is really to start small and very local with your organization or your company. Find and talk to the veterans that likely already work for your company or organization. And if you find you don't have any veterans that work for your company or organization yet, ask your customers and suppliers if they do. Just branch out from your own company a little bit. Once you find those veteran employees, ask for their personal journeys that they had in the military, what experience they gained in the military, how they came to work at that company in the STEM workforce, and then find a couple, interview them, write down what they say, and then evaluate, look for key themes you saw across all those veterans that you interviewed, and then go and look online or ask others if those compare and contrast to what you see outside of your own little small bubble that you talked to personally and was intimate with, and determine then what you would do with that going forward.
All right, great advice, and I thank you, Garrett, and thank you for your service. Steve, what about you? What do you say?
So let me start by introducing myself. Thank you very much, Shelley. Thank you, panelists. It is a great privilege to be on here with you guys. Who is Spectrum? Let me start with the company aspect first. They're owned and operated by Charter Communications. Spectrum is a leading broadband connectivity company serving 31 million customers across 41 states. The company offers a full range of state-of-the-art residential, business. These products and services include Spectrum Internet, TV, mobile, and voice. We also own and operate 30 local news channels and sports networks. From I'll say, accolades perspective, we've been recognized by Forbes as one of the top 100 places for veterans to work, as well as best in state employer by Colorado, Connecticut, Kentucky, Missouri, North Carolina. And the last thing I'll say on that one is we are also a 5-star employer by our very own hosts, Vets Index, for several years now. So moving to me, I am the Vice President of Inside Plant for the National Data Centers, where I oversee mission critical operations that support services for Spectrum, which are those 31 million customers in 41 states. My team is ultimately responsible for the oversight of critical infrastructure and standards-based installation of IT equipment in all of the national data centers. To make it more specific, we're responsible for everything within the four walls: power, HVAC, generators, and we act as the smart hands supporting the equipment of all of our customers. I myself am an Army veteran. When I enlisted, I was a 33 Tango. I think it's now called a 35. But as an Army veteran, uh, our veteran community is very important to me, which is why I'm here today. And ultimately, this has led to my participating as a co-chair of our internal veterans groups. So that's kind of the lead in or the introduction to me. The question is focused on more the transition aspects, or at least that's the way I took it. And how do you translate that military into a career success? So I'm going to start with really, how do you get your foot in the door? So what I'm going to offer is know what you want to be when you grow up and be able to articulate it. We have to be able to translate the military functions, skills into civilian so people understand it. And you need to know how to talk civilian. Now, I know that's difficult, but ultimately it's important or key to your success in the interview or hiring process, because if you can't connect, you won't relate and you won't get the position. So if you don't have those nailed down, what do I suggest? I suggest you establish a partnership to help you with both of those areas. From Spectrum, career resource centers are on military bases. We also have military recruiters where you can schedule an office hour chat to help in that transition process. Excuse me. Now, the next area, know your fit within the company. So just like Garrett touched on, go to our website, jobs.spectrum.com, look at the positions of interest, and understand where you need to be positioned or what you need to be submitting on. If you need additional help there, we do have a military MOS translator, which is on jobs.spectrum.com/military, and that will help you dial in your MOS and what openings are available at that time. So the last piece of this is getting into the right position. Skill Bridge, hiring our heroes. We have other partnerships like 4Block. All of these are designed to allow you to step in and intern into the roles. And ultimately, it's a try before you buy for the hiring manager, so they can truly appreciate the skills that Jeffrey touched on earlier that you bring in. So in final, what I'd like to say is you need to get started with us immediately. We want to get you in the right role at the right pay right now. So that's my plug for Spectrum there.
Wow, you are, hats off to you and your team. You're making a lot of improvements, a lot of valuable resources for veterans. And now I see Sean has joined us. Thank you for joining us, Sean. It's been a great start to our Veterans in Technology, Cybersecurity, and STEM Workforce panel discussion. Sean, right now, and to our audience, we've spoken about Sean. Sean works at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. Sean, before jumping into the next section, can you just give us can you introduce yourself?
Sure.
Along with the introduction, please introduce yourself.
Rochelle, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you well, Sean. Thank you.
Great. Great. So I want to apologize to everybody. I've been listening all morning, and then as soon as I had to come on and speak, it didn't work. I had to try a few different browsers. I apologize. I'm Sean Stevenson. I'm from Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. I've been here for about 14 years. I have responsibility for our military and veteran program. Before that, I spent about 11 years in private industry. And before that, I spent about 12 years in the military. I was both enlisted and an officer in the light armored reconnaissance community. I was also in the special warfare community, and I'm also a Gold Star sibling. Had the unfortunate responsibility when I fought in the first Gulf War of bringing my brother's remains home. So I have a true passion and joy for working with military and veterans. You are on mute, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean. Such a touching background. And I thank you for your service, everyone else's service. And Jeffrey, you're not alone. I thank you for the support. I thank you for the support you give to the veteran community. I thank you. I thank you. Um, so before I'll get into our next question, which will be for Jeff. From Jeff, we'll go and we'll go with speaking with Sean to the with the next question. So Jeff, you and Black Kite are doing some amazing things, especially with the cybersecurity workforce. Cybersecurity remains one of the fastest growing fields, but also one of the hardest to fill. Right now, they're saying that statistically, we're not able to fulfill these roles that are coming out there. From your expertise, your experience, how can a veteran's background and risk assessments in operational security be leveraged to strengthen cyber resilience?
Yes, that's a great question, and I think Stephen made some great points around sort of the cultural challenges I think that people are facing coming out of the military. I had a podcast that I hosted over the last couple of years, and I had a lot of former military folks on, and they all are indicated that the culture was the hardest thing for them to really adjust to. And Stephen also talked about sort of, finding mentors, and I will make myself available. Please connect to me on LinkedIn. If anyone wants any mentoring, I'm happy to help out. But I think that bringing the expertise and the knowledge of sort of how to understand the attacker's perspective and how to understand who's coming after us, I think is a really, really important sort of skill that veterans can bring. As I said before, and I say it all the time, we're at war, and I think we are struggling. And I think that the background that veterans bring really, really makes that powerful. I think the technical training is one thing. And when we prep for this, we talked a little bit about certification, and there are tons of certifications out there, and you can certainly look at those. But I think a lot of it really is getting experience, hands-on experience, building labs, reaching out to people that are already in the space. The part of the challenge right now is we're inundated with a lot of people that were promised six-figure jobs if they took this boot camp. And, you talked about there's clearly a disconnect. Companies say they can't find the right people, and the resources, both of those cannot be correct. And I think a lot of it is how we think about this problem. Yes, there's technical things we need to know, but it's really about communicating with business stakeholders. I'm at an event in Anaheim, and I'm going to be presenting later today to a bunch of board members, and I'm going to tell them, here's what you need to ask your security team. How does this impact our business, right? Money coming in, money going out. If something goes bad, who gets in trouble? And thinking about that and changing your mindset to more of the business kind of perspective, I think is really, really valuable and important. And it's hard. That's really where we need to go. And veterans and military folks taught a lot of mission objectives. Mission objectives are business goals and objectives. So shifting that mindset and asking questions. What is it that's important to you? How do we help you make better decisions? How do we help support your goals, your mission objectives? I think is really the way we sort of, bring veterans into the space.
Agreed. Agreed with you, Jeff. There are many skills and talents that sets us apart from others, and what veterans bring are the ability to create opportunities for our nation to take the lead when it comes to cybersecurity, when it comes to protecting our great nation. And Sean is doing amazing things. If you ever checked out their website, it's an amazing laboratory creating innovative solutions and services, products for protecting, but not only are they protecting, they are showing others how to create opportunities. So Sean, I want to jump into a question that we have for you as it pertains to the National Laboratory. You work closely with veterans stepping into the roles at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, particularly in advanced research and supercomputing. How do you identify and prepare veterans for success in such highly technical and mission-driven environments?
That's a great question, Rochelle. So identification really starts early for us as a national lab. And on the officer side, we start as early with JROTC. For those on the line who understand what JROTC is, we also work with ROTC universities nationwide. We work with all of the service academies. We work with an organization called NUPOC for nuclear propulsion officers. On the enlisted side, we work very closely with TAPS commands. We literally have those conversations, especially early pandemic, getting them all of our soft materials, having our website, having places for them to go to really get a better pulse and understanding of who we are. We also work to identify a lot of our candidates, especially on the enlisted side, like the guest speaker said this morning, through our community colleges. We're in California. We have the largest community college community across the country, and so in our state, we work a lot with our JCs to identify some folks early that could potentially work for our lab. The way we prepare them, the second part of the question that you asked, is we invest in them early. So we have a deep understanding of who our military veterans is because of the mission work that we do for a national lab. We have responsibility for safety and security of the nation and global stability. So we start out by really valuing all of our skill sets as military and veterans. And so what we did early was, I think one of the things that was most successful for us is, especially during the pandemic, as we were all sitting home, is building a website that's very intuitive and very simple and very friendly for our military and veterans. We also got involved in the SkillBridge community. So we started working with DoD to really find these folks that can really bring value to the laboratory. We use SkillBridge as a funnel. We also do resume review, cover letter review, and really help our candidates, again, invest and prepare them for success, finally endorsing them to the actual hiring manager, and also preparing them through behavioral interviewing. So we do behavioral interviews here like most organizations do. We prepare them how to be successful with the STAR model for You're on mute, Rochelle.
Thank you. I was trying to unmute it. All righty. Great preparation, preparing the veterans for either a career or just being able to provide that resource for the veterans is valuable. I highly recommend veterans to connect. My apologies. To connect. And Stephen, as we get into the next question, when it comes to building skills in the workforce readiness, broadband and telecom are essential to both national infrastructure and innovation. What opportunities exist for veterans at Spectrum to move into technology-driven or leadership roles?
Well, let me start. The beauty here is Spectrum is a technology-driven company. So just stepping into roles gives you that opportunity. But let me provide several concrete opportunities or support structures to help veterans step into those leadership, tech-based, or innovative roles. I view this question as a focus on what skills need to be developed or built. And then once you're part of the company and you've started to exhibit those skills, how do you set yourself up for advancement? One of the main resources I would suggest any employee within Spectrum that they leverage would be Guild. Guild is our partner in providing education and developing skills as a part of Spectrum's education benefit. It covers 100% of tuition across a catalog of hundreds of degrees served from 30 universities and learning providers. For those that want to extend beyond the bachelor's, there is also an additional $10,000 per year in tuition assistance for approved programs. Taking that one step further to resources within Spectrum, I'm going to suggest you reach out, much like Garrett touched on, much like Jeff touched on, the veterans community within Spectrum. It not only offers you a place for that camaraderie, but it also offers that mentorship that was touched on earlier. Within Spectrum, this group is a community of veterans and veteran supporters, like Jeff, right? And we have over 3,000 employees active in their support of transitioning veterans, each other, supporters, and ultimately the customer, or excuse me, the company. The mission is leave no veteran behind. We are here for you and ready to support you. The last item I'd give you on the development side is industry-based technical memberships, IEEE, SCTE. Those industry-based organizations are outstanding resources, not only from a networking, but also training and skills development community perspective. So now that you got some of these skills, how do you apply them? What do you do differently to set yourself apart and advance your career? My answer is proactively align or place yourself in opportunities to develop or show leadership and innovation. Be outstanding in your role. Have greater impact than just your small team. Network. Reach out for stretch projects so that other organizations can see you and potentially look to recruit you into their role. Some of the internal, I'll say, opportunities from a leadership development perspective for Spectrum, we do have an internal leadership development program. We also have cross-training opportunities. We just launched an internal tool that allows you to go in and apply and do ride-alongs or OJT with other departments. So this starts to expose you and get you familiar with other teams, other roles, and even other organizations. So now that you're starting to make the advancement, the real question is, have we seen those advancements take place? So let me answer that with a couple, I'll say, examples that you may be aware of because they have been published. So let me start with Cliff Hagan, Naval Academy graduate. He has been spotlighted in the Military Times. He is our Executive Vice President of Customer Operations, and he's also our executive sponsor of the Spectrum Veterans Business Group. Another one I would offer is Suzanne Carter. Her story about her progression into the director role she has today has been featured in Army Times as well. So just a little proof in the pudding, if you will, on these items, one put to play, do come out and pay dividends from a career success standpoint.
Oh, I'm grateful for all the improvements and techniques that you have made, that Spectrum has made, and effective for veterans to be able to use the tools while applying for jobs. It makes it easier. And that is the goals, as you know, as veteran programs are taking place. So as I transition to Garrett, Teradyne, the semiconductor manufacturing industry is, oh, you have a lot of things going on. But I'm well aware of the benefits of bringing veterans on, and the value veterans bring to a company. So I'm going to ask you, as a leader in the semiconductor industry, you've been first, you've seen firsthand how innovation drives progress. What qualities do veterans bring that make them strong contributors to advanced manufacturing and engineering?
Yeah, thanks, Rochelle. I'd say first off, there's many MOSs or ratings in the military that specialize in electronics, uh, technician, repair, and calibration, as well as even systems engineering that relies on electronics, and even programming semiconductors that emit, the electrical paths or analog and digital mixed signals. So they come with hands-on experience working with semiconductors or even calibrating them and how they're used on printed circuit board assemblies. So that's a strength those ratings and MOSs come right out of the box with. And then with it, of course, they bring, all the things we've talked about from a soft skill coming from the military culture of resiliency, mission first attitude, which is valued by every industry, but particularly in the semiconductor industry. And then, Rochelle, you also mentioned, there's a lot going on in the semiconductor industry. And, I've been asked, what do you see going on in the next 5 years within the semiconductor industry? And how would veterans fit into that? And so I would talk about it. There is expected to be explosive growth in semiconductor volumes and the number of units being manufactured and shipped for use in electronics, in AI data centers, as well as automobiles, not only for infotainment, but for the safety features of vehicles, autonomous driving, and the electrification of vehicles as we move off of combustion engines for our automobiles, as well as in defense and aerospace equipment as well. And not just the number of chips that are going to be manufactured is going to explode. That's already happening, but also the complexity of how the chips need to perform is ever increasing, as well as then the test intensity for those chips, as well as the manufacturing complexity of semiconductors is ever increasing as well. And so right now it's projected that the sales of semiconductors is going to reach $1 trillion annually in 2030, driven by that explosive growth and the complexity of it. And as of recently, the United States only has 12% of the global U.S. manufacturing of semiconductors, whereas back in 1990 they had 37%, and the U.S. government has recognized that and has introduced the U.S. CHIP Act and other tariff reforms to increase the amount of semiconductor production in the United States over the next 5 years. And that's providing a financial incentive to bring in more domestic production and jobs to the skilled US labor force into the semiconductor industry, which veterans are great candidates for. It's projected that there's 160,000 new jobs that are going to be created in the US semiconductor industry alone by 2032, with $250 billion of investment going on by semiconductor companies in the United States. Companies like TSMC, Texas Instruments, and Intel are already investing billions in the US, creating fabrication facilities and creating jobs in Arizona, Texas, and Ohio. And this is going to continue. And as of right now, there's 70,000 shortage of workers in the semiconductor industry in the US right now. And veterans can help fill those roles immediately. And the roles that are in high demand are technicians, engineers, AI chip specialists, and other roles in sustainability and robotics within the semiconductor industry.
And we're also, just to add to that, Garrett and team, we're seeing a lot of investment from the AI companies in those chip manufacturers in the US. So I think that's also going to spur a lot of that growth. I've seen numbers like into the billions up to $1 trillion in investment. And to fuel AI, it's amazing. We got 30 minutes in before anybody said AI. So, but people are throwing a ton of money at this now. There's a ton of compute that needs to be built. And then there's a lot of stuff around that as well, right? Environmental, water, electric, all of that stuff has to grow in order to support this crazy growth in artificial intelligence. So,
Jeff,
Yeah,
you,
spot on,
you
Jeff.
mentioned something.
sorry, Shelley, go ahead.
You and Garrett both mentioned something. As Garrett is in the manufacturing industry, I'd love to hear both of your perceptions on the CMMC certification, the cybersecurity maturity model certification.
Yeah, I have some thoughts, but I think we're gonna have to see how a lot of it plays out. I think it's sort of another sort of iteration of an attempt to sort of get control over this. And I think we've seen some progress around moving in that direction. I think the reality is there are a lot of smaller companies that provide services and product to the federal government, to the military, who are just too small and they don't have the resources. And I think the newest version of CMMC actually has addressed a lot of that. But I'd definitely be interested to hear what my colleagues have to say. I feel like it's an important problem that needs to be solved. I feel like we're moving very slowly towards getting there. I don't know, others may have different sort of thoughts there.
All righty. And I thank you. I thank you. So Sean, I'm gonna bring it back to you if you don't mind. Transitioning from the structured world of the military into the fluid pace of science and technology can be challenging. What are some of the biggest barriers you see veterans facing, and how does the laboratory help them adjust?
Yeah, that's a great question, Rochelle. I think I would start for national labs, and for those on the line, there's 17 national labs across the country. I think the first thing is not being intimidated by the word lab. I mean, I don't have a technical background myself, but I've worked at a national lab for 14 years, and so all of us have different skills, different attributes, different capabilities and abilities to bring to a national laboratory. And so getting away from that stigma, often when I go to recruiting events or I'm doing outreach, that's one of the things that's kind of prevents people from coming over and talking with us. So often we'll just take anything that says lab away from that environment and just be much more welcoming, right? So it's first of all breaking that down. Even though we focus a lot of our occupations on STEM, we do a lot of other things at national labs. And so I've literally hired for every MOS that I can think of at a national lab here in Livermore, California. So the way we do that is we help all of our veterans, whether they're enlisted, whether they're officers, regardless of what their background is, what value do they bring to the laboratory? And so we do that through coaching and mentoring. I'm very fortunate. I have a staff that does that. I do a lot of that myself, but it's really breaking that down, building the confidence up of the potential applicant, and helping them understand
different skills to something in regards to possibly technology. Again, it's really kind of looking at their resume, looking
at all their accomplishments. How do we, yes, some of those things are hard skills in regards to, for example, we hire a lot of Navy nukes on the nuclear side, but maybe on the conventional side, we can work with EOD, right? And so we look at these different trades and really better understand what they are, how they could potentially be applied to the laboratory. And then again, it's a very personal connection, working with the candidate and then potentially endorsing them if they're qualified for the role.
Well, I thank everyone. I truly thank everyone. This has been an amazing panel. Thank you for your thoughtful insights and for your ongoing commitment to empowering veterans in technology and STEM. To our audience, thank you for joining us today. We encourage you to continue supporting, connecting, and supporting organizations and programs that help veterans thrive in these industries. Thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of our conference.